On brighter news, Louisiana sounded the alarm today.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual Purge sanctioned by the U.S. government.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of The Void Experience. Once again, we have my people, Nolan, Bibhor, Lewis. We're still missing Brett. Hasn't showed up for episode 3. We'll be expecting him soon. Don't worry. We'll be seeing another episode this week. Thank you all for watching so far and staying tuned and subscribing. We've been growing in the past 4 days that we've been out. But let's get started, guys. So, we've had a few requests to go over, like, who we are. What is the Void? How did this come about? What's the history of, us? So I'll let you guys take that, man. I'll let you guys answer that question in your eyes, in your hearts.
I'll start. Well, the Void started out, the inspiration came from a movie that I saw and that all of us have seen. It's called Enter the Void. It's about, I won't give away too much, but it's about astral projection, what happens after you die. DMT is involved in it. It's just a wild movie. And when we all met at Cal State Long Beach, we had this pretty shitty apartment that I think, like, we had about 3 or 4 people in a 1 bedroom. People sleeping on the floor. It was pretty grimy. Very college-like, but we just kind of caught on, and I said, like, "Oh, enter the void. Come to the void." We started calling our place the Void because, yeah, obviously, when someone walks in, say that, and that kind of stuck. From there, we moved into a 5-bedroom house, the one that Lewis is in right now, and the 4 of us and Brett, and the 5 of us combined are the Void. This is kind of our group of close friends. We met in college in Pike fraternity, so that's kind of my overview of what the Void is.
Lewis, what was that experience like, living at the Void, being in the Void in college during our college years? I guess what would be a good representation of that in a few words?
I mean, okay. I feel like everybody in the group knows, like, I'm kind of the clean freak, the person that, like, I think it took the most acclimating for, or I don't know how you want to call it, but there has to be some compromises, right? When you're living with a bunch of your, like, really good friends and, you know, you get a little lazy, you get that kind of college vibe of freedom, and shit gets everywhere. And the fact that we had this tiny little fucking place that, I mean, you barely had enough room, I mean, to sit on the couch with your boys. It got messy, as you can imagine. I mean, I'm sure we'll get into a couple horror stories. At one point, Anthony Gannum, I'm gonna call him out, some pretty disgusting, just, unforgivable type of stuff. I'm just gonna get into it.
I saw some pretty disgusting behavior
real quick. So you guys are all familiar with the rotisserie chickens, classic good, savory home meal that you're gonna take home to a family. So Anthony, he was about the gains. I respected that he was, like, very fit and into the workout and all that stuff. Hey, by all means, we're all into that good stuff, and stay healthy, right? This is the time. This guy left that rotisserie chicken in the oven for, man, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month?
3 weeks.
At least.
I didn't cook there. I mean, I was getting everything to go. So something stunk in there, like dead, and we all know it was the Gannum style guy. So he had the audacity, right? One of the 3 weeks when we found it, I got a 12-pack of Coronas it was me and Brett, I think, and maybe Nolan was there, and he's like, "Hey, Lewis, you think I can get one of those Coronas?" And I'm like, by all means, please enjoy one of the Coronas after you destroy that filthy mess that's in that fucking oven. Man, that is gross. Have you smelled that? It was absurd. Just a little taste of kind of what we had to deal with in there, and things got cleaned up here.
We kept cleaning, but it kept smelling worse, so we knew something was wrong.
Hey, Anthony, if you're watching this, we still love you, man.
We love you, brother.
I'm gonna bleep that out, man. I don't know. to tie the bow on that whole story, just to kind of end that, when that person came back and asked to stay at our house, Lewis was the person to tell him that no, he will not be staying at our house, as he was lifting his dumbbells, lifting right in front of him, telling him that
amongst
you
other
do not
things
have
that
a place
happening.
to stay here as you expect.
Whoa.
So just as a representation of that relationship, what it evolved to.
Give me some
Yes.
credit. Nobody else was going to do it. I had to be the bearer of bad news. So it was in the middle of my workout time, and I was going to get in a few reps. And,
I was damn near
at the end of the day,
unconscious.
nobody wanted him to go, or no one wanted him to stay. It was a non-issue. No one's going to make it happen.
Yes,
So, yeah, I
yes,
was
I will
that
give you
guy.
that. It was a bad time in the household at that moment when he was trying to get there, you know. So, but yeah. I mean, you could have delivered it in a kinder, nicer way potentially, you know. But sorry, not to deviate, but let's hear it from you, Bibhor. What were your thoughts of living at the void in a few words?
Dude, it was pretty awesome. Like, I think it was we didn't have anywhere for a while. Like, we didn't know what to do.
We didn't
So
have a fraternity house.
Yeah, so I think we took initiative and kind of just got that started. But I don't think anyone here regrets living at the void. You know, it was dirty. You know, a lot of shit happened, but
that's about it.
I think it was very good overall experience. A lot of things happened. I think we'll talk about more stuff as we get there. One thing I did want to bring up that was funny was Og and Norma, our landlord tenants.
Rest in peace.
God, yeah, bless their soul. They
R.I.P.
were 90-something, 96, 97 when we signed the lease of the house.
Yeah.
And our biggest worry that whole time was hopefully they signed the lease before they croak. and when they signed the lease, I think that was one of the happiest things that have happened. And we were ready to rage. We just went and slept there that day. I think we just took everything from that old
Took a
dirty
mattress.
apartment
I just
and
took a
then
mattress,
slept
like
on the
3 pairs
floor
of
with
clothes.
nothing.
Got trashed.
The
I came to my
best.
room that weekend. I remember
times.
that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we paint. Oh my God, remember that?
That was. I would say that our time at the void was a bunch of life lessons. Yeah, that'd be the best way I could explain it. You know, it was a way of us being, I guess, in our young 20s at the time. You know, we're in our older 20s, I guess, not too old, but learning a bunch of shit the hard way. You know, I punched a few holes in the wall. Some are still there.
Oh yeah, me too.
Some doors were
Uh,
broken down.
Yeah.
I broke my hand a few times because of it. So
Yep.
you know,
Too.
the
I think someone
the
took a
wall
shit in the
definitely
house
won.
carpet.
That never
There you go.
happened. Can we not put that in here? We're going to edit that one out.
Someone
We
I
ran,
didn't see it, so it might as well not happen.
Lots of other
Someone
things
ran through
happened.
our,
There was some
our
wild
back,
stuff. None of the other stuff, but
The possum moments.
Yeah.
Where the
Oh my
possums-
God.
Oh, yeah. Too many. All right. We wanted to do this so that people could kind of get an understanding, but that's where the name came from. That's kind of what it represents, and it's the 5 of us. So that's really what Void is.
a bunch of debauchery. But we've grown up. Look at us now. Look, Mom, no hands, you know? So, thank you. So let's move on. So let's go to our first update of the day. As typical,
Yes.
coronavirus.
Yeah.
What's going on? Let's see our count right now. Our count as of right now, should we see
1.4 million.
Geez, I mean,
I think yeah.
We are
total
1.4 million.
Is that for the United States or is that for all the
No,
world?
that's for the whole world. With 81,995 dead and over 300,000 recovered, with almost 400,000 of those cases being in the U.S. We actually had the highest number of deaths today recorded, as well as the highest number of cases recorded. 30,000 cases and almost 2,000 deaths.
What about this though? What about people? I can't really say something about the deaths, but what about the people that are saying it's the fact that we're testing more? That it's
No, that's 100% the reason why.
there's truth to that, yeah.
Other people are saying, though, that we're not testing enough, in which case we're not actually getting accurate numbers.
So how do they know if the curve is flattening? I mean, it has to be over a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, I don't think the curve is flattening. I think curve is flattening in countries like South Korea, but I think a lot of the countries in the world are still not practicing social distancing.
Is that why South Korea is recovering?
I think South Korea had a very, they saw the threat coming, and then they handled it very well with proper, like, quarantining of people that are sick and testing people that have symptoms or are in contact with people that had the virus to a certain degree, and just ramping that up. Same thing, like, for example, if you look at Germany is up there in terms of cases. They have over 100,000 cases, but, like, people aren't dying as much. And that's because I think they're practicing social distancing and just having a superb healthcare system where they're testing over 300,000 people a day. So it's a combination of two things. But on brighter news, Louisiana sounded the alarm today for the purge. And people started freaking out. And the city had to go back and apologize.
Was like,
it wasn't for the purge. It was like, it's the initial, like, couple of, like, 10 seconds of the music for the purge is the same. Like, it's you can recognize that pretty easily. So that went off, and that's the warning announcement is similar. So, like, the message, obviously, there's no pre-recorded message for the purge, but but people were getting scared because that was happening.
Well, I mean, like, you got, like, I mean, the city, or, like, that's been around way longer than the purge, though. Yeah, like that sound.
Yeah. But
that guy, someone was just trying to fuck with everybody.
They're saying Louisiana is going to be like the New York, because of, like, what happened in, like they had Mardi Gras, like, well into, like, the March. Right. They were celebrating St. Patrick's Day, so, like, they're saying they're, like, a couple of weeks behind California. So think about when that, like, starts to ramp up.
It's all like,
who actually knows, like, the actual numbers, right? It's like,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
They're not giving tests to people who may be asymptomatic. They're not giving tests to these people who may be in quarantine, who are sick, who are not going to the doctor or the hospital, because they know whether it's coronavirus or not, I'm gonna get coronavirus if I go to the fucking hospital. Excuse my French.
So what do you guys think the projection is going to be? Like, where do you think, like, let's take, like, how many do you think, where US is going to be, Oscar? Like,
well, the Surgeon General, or, like, the CDC, is saying that their initial projections are not what they're not as high as they originally thought. So with that in mind, I think we'll probably have here in the United States, maybe by year end, a million deaths, if that.
Oh my goodness.
Just shy of a million.
I was going to say, a million cases.
Million cases.
But I would be very confident about it being far above that. But I would say sooner than at the year. So, I mean, do you mean at its peak, or just, like, what do you mean?
Like a time frame, like a year's time frame.
Okay, year time frame, because this could be more. I would say at least 1 million cases. I would say in the U.S. Oh, as many as 5 million cases. And I would say deaths. I don't know about 1 million deaths. I would say, where are we at right now?
Like 20,000? No, 12,000.
I would say we'll be in the hundreds of thousands. I would say at the end of the year, million, over 1 million, up to 5 million cases, hundreds of that, maybe 200,000, 250,000 deaths.
250,000.
Dude, I say 500,000 deaths easy. I don't think that we're getting out of the U.S. I'm saying just the U.S. 500,000. I don't think that we've gotten even close to the curve. I think we're, like, it flattening out. I think that we're slowing the curve by doing the distancing, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but I think, like, kind of what Oscar's saying, like, if you really think about this, like, in a year time frame, I'd say probably 500,000's conservative. He might have been a little aggressive on the million, but I don't think too far off. I wouldn't
be surprised.
I think we're going to have over we're gonna have like cases in a year, like close to in the 100 million range.
Yeah.
Like the
100 million cases.
100 million
Worldwide.
cases. No, just in the United States.
In the United States.
Just
Well, they
in the
did
United States.
say
Half of the
Jesus
population
Christ.
is going to be infected.
in California, the governor said that
right.
50% of us are going to get infected.
Yeah,
with
so
it.
I think
that
half
alone
that.
is-
What's the population of the United States? 300
So
million?
what's the mortality rate on that? What do you think?
I think less than 1%.
Right now it's 5%, right?
No,
That's the death
right
rate.
now it's around 3%, but I think overall it's less than 1% because like there are people that are not testing and they're okay, you know. But like who knows, you know, the second wave or like the virus mutating, all that could play into effect.
Yeah.
What we'll be able to see right now, Wuhan is just announcing. Well, they released their whole like shelter in place. I mean, theirs was like a true shelter in place, man. They were not allowed out of their house. But on Wednesday is when they're officially able to like go on trains, and they're expecting 55,000 passengers on Wednesday to just leave out of Wuhan. So we'll see them.
If I was in
like,
Wuhan, I'm out, bro.
yeah, dude. Like
Are you
being,
serious?
like you're quarantined for 76 days. They were locked down for 76 days, and they were locked down. Like they were not,
Hey, so I have a question.
Whatever I want.
So let's say, right, like this is just it's probably a fucked up question, but so let's say you have coronavirus, right? You're really old. You got coronavirus.
How old? What's old?
Bro, like you're gonna like you're old, like
like 65? Like what are we saying?
75, 85.
Okay.
You have lived a good life, right? You get the
coronavirus.
coronavirus.
After 85, though, man, that's a prime year.
So you get coronavirus.
Yeah.
And then you like let's say you were like in a bad health, like it's gonna get you, right? And then someone comes to your home and fucking robs you and like kills you, right? This is
okay. This is a fucked up scenario, but all right.
No. So
Yeah.
is that
where are you going with this?
Is that death coronavirus related or is that a homicide?
Homicide.
Yeah,
So,
you got
but-
fucking killed.
He helped out a
just
lot.
because,
Yeah, it's a
just because I had cancer and I was
Fucking
dying
listen,
of cancer,
but-
and then someone
but
stabbed me in
listen.
the stomach. My
But
cause
they
of
do-
death wasn't. No.
But they do an autopsy, right? And then
Just
they
'cause you
find,
have
this guy
coronavirus.
was almost gonna die. But he was gonna die from the virus anyways.
But that's not
The
what
whole
the
point,
cause
dude.
of death.
Cancer and you killed
That's
him.
not the
That's
cause
just
of
like
death.
homicide. Like it's
I
a
think the
Yeah,
guy that's
it's
doing
like-
the numbers is like, and he's like, damn, he told me this was going to be a week. And then he's just fucking off all the numbers. He's just like, fuck him. Yeah, some guy fucking died naturally. Fuck Corona.
No,
So
I feel like
you're talking about from the reporting perspective, right?
reporting
how is that-
perspective. Yeah. So I
Okay,
think
okay.
certain countries are like,
Who's
This
that
is a
guy? Who's that
stupid
team?
fucking-
I want to know who's doing
no,
that.
because there's someone that's making a distinction on like
Yeah.
how certain cases, because certain people are dying, and it's like it's probably not coronavirus, but they're gonna say it is because he's old, he died.
Yeah.
So where do you draw that line? Like
It's up to them.
I don't
the
know.
single man, just because I feel like in terms of like how funding gets like so fucked up, but how funding gets
That's
distributed
why.
eventually, isn't that how like it's worked? Oh, I had this many cases, so I need more, like, or whatever that is. I feel like
Yeah.
that's how it works, right?
I don't know
It's
where that
just
would
like
go.
there's so many
See?
chinks in the armor. By the time the information gets to us, I'm just like, I don't know how to process
Yeah.
it. Sorry, go ahead, Liz.
Anyways,
I'm sure there's some
what's
people
next,
trying to make
Oscar?
some money out of that. Like, I'm sure there's some people trying to make money out of that. But I mean, what's next? That is the question, actually. What is next? So what happens after all of this happens? I was told today, don't tell anybody, but I was told today that we're going to be shutting down our office indefinitely. We're all
Wait,
going to be
what?
working remote until the next year. So it's like the
Crazy.
expectation is already that. So, and I'm
I
sure
feel it's
we're
a
not the
cultural
first-
shift.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're not the first company who's thinking this, right? It's like we're saving
Right.
ourselves actually like $1.5 million just on fucking like rent. Excuse my French, but it's an interesting shift, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. Like, how does it affect you guys? Like, I already know, like, I have to work from home, but that also means that I don't have to live in San Francisco anymore. I could live down back at home in Orange County or in San Diego or Los Angeles, or I can move to
So
Nepal and live like.
Hey!
yeah, no cases there barely.
There you go, 0 cases in Kathmandu, dude. Like,
It gets really bad. He's got to kick rocks to fucking
Dude, they
somewhere.
beat you. Like, if you are outside, like, breaking the curfew.
I don't go outside, bro. I've been here. Do they have Uber Eats? Do they have Postmates? That's all I need.
None of that.
No, they got a guy. You just, like, you pay him, he'll just bring it to you.
Even better.
At this point, if I just have a place to shit, shower, and work out and eat, I'm good. Like,
hey, so like
basics, yeah.
So your work, like, so you could be working from home forever, though. That's like that could be a thing, you know.
If you like this company, yeah.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, like that.
But that's not. But that's not with just his company, though. I feel like that's a trend that's happening. Like,
it very well could be, yeah. No, I agree. I think we're finding that through adapting to this like environment, we're doing more Zoom meetings. We're finding that we're able to do this. Honestly, for my job, I've been super effective over here, like just working from home. Like in terms of
it's like patting his back. I've been doing work. My boss
to do. Like you can fucking excuse me, but you can do so much of what we do. You too, Bibhor, from your home.
No, I know.
Office. I mean, like, there's a lot of like our positions that it's just like we kind of go in more for like that developing that cultural bond, if anything. Like my company is not super hard on be in the office by this time or that time, but like it's just a communal thing. So how will we get that back? I think. So
how do you think it's going to change? So like, let's say this ends next year, people start going back to the workforce. Like, you think people are going to start hiring more remote people? You think people are going to like the entire dynamics? You think it's going to change?
I think it'll be like what Oskar was saying. Like, there's going to be a lot of companies that say like when they're doing their spreadsheets and they're measuring out their bottom line, like, hey, if our rent is like in a very like heavy type of area, just give the people a little more money on their check to do like their home office, to do their own place.
No owner is thinking to give more money to his employee, dude. It's about increasing profit. The bottom line.
No, but if you think about it, but if you think about it, a $2,000 stipend one time for them to pay for their home office is better than paying for like catered lunch, paying for the utility, the wireless. All that goes included into having that office adds up to more than $2,000 a month. But
here's the thing.
You know,
you can't write that off as a contract employee if you are you know what I'm saying? Like you're W-2.
What do you mean? They won't be contract employees.
I know, but I'm saying like
still be W-2.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is like you're paying for your own cost of like electricity, cost of internet, like cost from working from home. $2,000 one time is not going to cut it.
No, for sure. Yeah. But that's the expectation.
But in their minds.
So as an employee, that's a cost that I take on as an employee is my own, unless they offer some sort of like reimbursement on Wi-Fi or something.
I think they'll do that. I think that's where we're heading. I think that is where I think they're going to give you like a work from home stipend, like $500, $300 a month.
Dude, my company's already done that. So $50 we can use right off for your internet if you're paying like $50 or so.
There you go. See,
done. So that's already like being implemented. And then in addition to that, they're like, put your cell phone bill on your corporate card. Don't worry about that. Obviously, you're only using that for business now. And like, I think they're doing little bits to just adapt, right? So like, that's where they are paying the reoccurring office cost, right?
Yeah. You also have to, not for everybody, but for some people, it's very significant. The fact that you don't have to commute, just the time and the gas, that can be a lot for some people. I've experienced that before. I've experienced where we were how much time round trip per day? Hour and a half?
2 hours, dude. Every day we were commuting.
And then it was ridiculous. And then we also experienced like you walk to work. I've worked really close to home, and that it really helps. But I mean, yes, obviously there's going to be both sides of the envelope.
I think people are more productive now because just the fact that you're home, I mean, I think the coronavirus has to do a lot with people being more productive at work right now. But if you're working from home, like, and you have to work, like, you're gonna figure it out. And I feel like you work more because, like, you don't go out to go get lunch. Like, you're right there,
There's also like, I don't know, it's like a part of me or a part of people. Maybe I'm not the only one, but it's like a feeling of like I almost have to show more like I'm working because like you don't see me working like all the time, right? So it's like I almost have to.
That's true.
It's like I have to kind of I don't know, show off more a little bit, but or flex a little bit more, which causes me to work harder.
Yeah,
I think
I was gonna say, I think that there's a, like, kind of what you're saying, Oscar. Like, you kind of want to report what you've been doing so they know your value, and there might even be like underlying, like, there's a little bit of a fear for people to be laid off, right? Because as people are measuring that bottom line and stuff, people are thinking, how long can I hold off this business? Because usually we're used to a certain amount of revenue each month. We're not getting that.
Dude, we just laid off like 6 people today.
There it is. Yeah, there's thoughts of that. There's talk going around, and a lot of businesses. I don't think anyone's immune to the coronavirus and the impact.
What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Let's just say this. It's kind of hard to say this, but let's just say a scenario where we can all return to normal work. There's no social distancing anymore. What's going to happen with the workforce? Is there going to be this huge influx of, like, what's going to happen? Something's going to happen.
That's going to take at least a year. I feel like people can't go out without a vaccine because we're seeing cases of where people are getting the virus back.
Oh yeah.
Like people that have had it cured and then got it back.
Immunity is temporary, short-term immunity. From what I understand, you have a short-term immunity and then you're susceptible again. So
until they find a cure, and that could, unless you just say, hey, even then, if you say, hey, screw it, we're all going to go back, and then like a lot of people are going to die and you don't have immunity, then it just means a lot of people to die for no reason. So like, where is the line? So
did you hear about the theory potentially that until they have a vaccine, this is just going to be a seasonal thing? Like maybe like they say, like some people experts are saying that summer might tone it down, at least not kill it, but tone it down. There'll be like a period of calm, and then it's just going to be a seasonal thing. What do you think about that idea?
So my thing is like the Earth, like how it's like shaped on what axis it sits on. There's always a hemisphere where it's hot or cold. Right. So we're having cases in like, South Africa, or like having cases in Australia or like the Philippines where it's really hot right now, or whatever the temperature is. Like they're having cases. So like the weather has to do nothing with like.
But you have to, it may reduce it, like it not maybe get rid of it, but like you can't say, because those are kind of remote areas anyway. Some may argue.
So I think it's just not conclusive. I feel like people don't want to risk it. I just feel like
we'll see when we see.
Until you have a vaccine, I don't think people want to risk of a second breakout somewhere.
Yeah. I think they're hoping it's like the flu where it kind of disappears like in a seasonal basis. And it's something that they can kind of like manage or control a little bit more. But it's like a hope, it's like hopefully that happens, but there's no guarantee. Yeah. But to kind of shift, I'm sorry, to kind of shift, just to kind of get off of the coronavirus and kind of the bummer that it is every single day. One thing that we found out that is pretty interesting amongst this is Dana White. I'm not sure if you all know who Dana White is, but he's the head of UFC, the head honcho. Essentially, he runs the game. The president, yeah. And he was not allowed to have any fights here in the United States, obviously, because of...
He's friends with the president, too. Him and Donnie, bro. They're tight.
So, like, a quick little... I don't really know the full situation, but me and Bibhor are very almost religiously into MMA. That's why we're going to do an MMA podcast. But, of course, all sports are affected by this, right? People are devastated. MLB, opening day, done. We're concerned as NFL fans if it's going to happen. The draft is coming up. Soccer's done. Basketball's done. Like, it's unprecedented. I think we talked about last episode, the only thing that went on is WrestleMania. But UFC, I mean, there's going to be a lot of great fights coming up this year. And one of the main ones is Khabib Nurmagomedov, Tony Ferguson. This is the 5th time they've set the fight up. One of them's either had to pull out because of an injury, weight cut, blah, blah. And then this happens. So Dana White, with all the resources and power he has, the great promoter he is trying to find a solution to still throw a card during all this. And one of the things he said was he has a private island. He's talking about flying people in, like the fighters, to do it there. So that's kind of what I know about the situation. What do you guys think?
Like with that, like what he's trying to do, I commend, because I feel like what people lack right now is like a form of entertainment and a certain level of sanity, right? Like this happened like in the Roman era. Like they were doing these great conquests and like people were conquering the world, but people were getting so bored they had to keep them entertained, or they were gonna like just riot for no reason. That's why they came out with the gladiator games.
Are you not entertained?
To quote him directly, he actually says, "I'm ready to get back. You keep people in their houses too long without entertainment, people are going to start losing their minds, and we need to start figuring out solutions. That's what we're doing. We're going to keep everyone safe,
blind, dude,
and we're going to pull this thing off." Dude, I'm wearing glasses, man. You don't see me fucking. Like, I'm trying. My computer's far away. But I mean, that's essentially what he's saying. He's saying that exact same thing. He's saying that, you know, if we don't offer entertainment to people, then they're going to start, you know, killing each other.
I think it's a great idea, you know, to keep us entertained. Here's my problem. I want to see a great fight. Okay, let's get that straight. But here's the thing. There are not enough tests to test medical workers, healthcare providers, people that are on, like, I guess, actually doing this shit on the front lines. They're going to test a bunch of people, UFC fighters on an island.
At this point, like, you might as well just do this in your backyard. Just do this in your backyard. You know, it's like, they can't tell you what to do on your property. You know, it's like
they just need some way of making it official. Like they're trying to limit the amount of people, but there has to be the 2 fighters, like 1 cornerman each. There has to be refs. There has to be like medical. So it's like, in terms of all sports, like a one-on-one individual sport is the least bad, like, for this. But
like,
still.
you're like, you know, coughing. There's all. Like, I want to see that, but I'm just saying, like, the logistically, like,
is it really worth it? Like,
dude,
pulling this off.
It's a new move, man. It's called the Corona move.
You're not gonna do it 6 feet away. Like,
yeah.
How do we know that each fighter and everyone involved in this island is clean?
You fight
with the mask on. Damn.
You're
straight like you're just going at it like with the mask like this the entire time, just duking it out.
In between rounds, just sanitize, shower.
Yeah. I'm just saying, man.
No touch gloves, none of that.
Touch gloves, dude. This doesn't matter.
You think JRE? You think Joe Rogan is going to be the commentator?
Yeah, they announced it today.
What?
Joe Rogan.
He's going to be the announcer.
I mean,
he's not the announcer, the commentator. He's the commentator.
So he's going to be present there physically. That's what you're
correct.
saying.
Correct.
Wow, I didn't think.
Or is he going to be doing it remotely? He could be doing it remotely.
I think he could.
I think he might be doing it remotely, but like, I think I read it somewhere that he said he's guaranteed to be part of this somehow. Like, I don't know. I think
White has something against him. Just how he blackmailed Conor McGregor. He has something against Joe Rogan, probably.
What's going on with that?
Well, yeah. What happened?
What happened?
Apparently, he was trying to blackmail Conor McGregor about a video about a prostitute or some jazz like that.
To fight him. So basically, it's like, hey, you fight for me, or like, I'm gonna show this.
Oh, I don't know for sure if that's why. I don't know if that's what he said, but he was definitely like doing some shady business. Yeah.
Well, it was Conor McGregor.
I don't think it was Conor McGregor.
Yeah, I never heard that shit.
I thought they said Conor McGregor was the dude.
Saw it on an ad.
You know those things got
on the Onion, bro. They wrote an ad on the Onion, and he saw it.
No, not the Onion. Seriously, it said something. It was like on World Star on Instagram or something. Like,
those are not good sources.
I mean, they throw some
buying them wolf tickets, bro.
Oscar, why don't you research it? Maybe we can circle back to it.
What I thought, and I don't want to speak out of turn, at what I don't know of, but something like there's a sex tape, and like there was some sort of like hush type of, I forget what the verbiage is, but like somebody had him by the balls by having a sex tape, and they threatened to like release it unless he did something, and I think he didn't keep his word, and that's why they're doing it.
Oh, he violated like an NDA. I think that's where the case.
Like, was it a legit? Like, can you blackmail someone and then have it be a legit?
Have you guys
NDA?
seen this? Have you guys seen the Chappelle show where he's like, he has a contract, like contract for like sex. It makes you sign it. It's like one of his famous skits.
No,
dude, you guys got to watch that. That's one of Dave Chappelle's.
What is it like?
It's one of Dave Chappelle's funniest skits. If you just search for Dave Chappelle, and then it's like contract, and it'll come up or something.
I have it here.
Check that out.
Though I'm not sure if you are all able to pick up any of this audio.
Oh no.
Oh, bro. YouTube. They'll take the video down to take that off. Yeah.
Change the screen, brother.
Yeah.
Change the screen. There you go.
Right. But that part is one of the funniest skits in comedy.
Wow.
Funniest skits in comedy.
He's a beast. Dave Chappelle is honestly like one of the best comedians we've seen.
It's been
question, follow up from the last episode. Did you guys ever get a chance to tune into Louis C.K.'s new whatever 1 hour stand up?
No, I've not seen it.
I don't want to pay $8.
I still want to see him.
I don't want to fund him.
He's a beast, dude. He's a beast.
He's good. He's really good.
Dude, he's hilarious. I'm sorry. All other shit aside, he's fucking hilarious.
I don't care. Yeah.
Come on.
I'm judging him by his comedy, not as a human being.
Yeah, dude. Do we have some skeletons in our closets? Come on. Everybody's
all comedians do. To be a comedian, you have to have some deep-seated issues, I feel like.
Well, thank you all for tuning in to episode 3, April 7th, 2020. Tune in next week. We'll have Brett. He'll be here. Not next week. Later on this week.
Yeah.
To
be determined. To be determined soon, though. We're working on it.
No, we'll be coming at you. Don't worry.
March.
So, tune in. We'll be seeing you shortly. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, please. Add us on Instagram, add us on Facebook, Twitter, any platform you like. Podcasts, we're on all the podcast stations now. So find us, follow us.
Spread the word, like, subscribe, comment. If you guys want topics.
And if you guys want to join us, let us know. Yeah.
Yeah, we want some guests. Let's talk to somebody.
Also, topics. Comment, DM us topics you want us to cover.
It'll be a straight 45 minutes of roast session. Like, we all take each minute to roast that person. Like, 20 minutes is a roast.
We won't roast you that much. God bless.
A little bit.
What did your mom say?